Okay, let's go.
Welcome, everybody, to Taliko Vima English. This is our second session with our friend Doris. Of course, she has asked to learn more about listening comprehension. And so welcome back, Doris. Thank you for being so patient as we get together. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. What about you?
I'm doing great also. And I know it's still a little nervous. I think by the time that we do this 3 or 4 times, you and I will be very comfortable with it. But learning together on this fly on the wall series is supposed to be very much like life. And that includes background sounds and natural settings. And it's just life. You and I getting together, hoping to teach you some things that you can continue to practice and develop your hearing comprehension. And so first I'd like to go through some slides that talk about several different ways to approach hearing comprehension. And depending on what you hear during this session, you can ask me if we can practice one of these things on later sessions. But I also have one in mind to practice for today. And that's why I ask you to have a pencil and paper or a computer that you can use to type some things to see what you're comprehending when we get to that part. Okay.
Okay.
All right, cool. So let me bring up the slides. I'll share my screen. And let's see here. And I'll bring up our slides. Right. So welcome everybody again to Taliko Vima English. That just means final step English because we're working on fluency. And here we have a slide series. Let me get rid of these captions down here. I should have taken those off before. Of course, you'll have closed captions on YouTube and other venues where you're watching this to help to show you what we're saying right now. But we're working on listening comprehension with Doris. It's her specific goal. But of course, all of these series will focus from a different language to English, as well as a different goal of each person. So active listening practice, active listening practice. Doris, can you read this for us?
Yes. Active listening practice. Choose audio materials and the language you want to improve. Example, podcast, audiobooks, new broadcast, TED talks. Listen activity by focusing on the content. Not just the words. Try to understand the main ideas, key details, and the speaker's intent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for reading that. So choosing the materials in English, obviously, this is the language that you want to learn and refine as you grow in it. Podcasts, of course, we have podcasts under Truly Pivotal Moments on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. So you could listen to those if you have access to those particular places. You can also listen to audiobooks, to the news broadcasts, and TED Talks are usually concise, little informative speeches from people. So those can be helpful because the content should be enjoyable by you, something that captures your attention, right? One of the keys to learning English and developing your discipline as well as your endurance in English exercises are that the topics are very interesting to you. If they're not, that adds a component of fatigue. You know, you're like, oh, not this again. Oh, I don't want to read about this. But if it's something that's interesting to you, you might be a little more focused. Listening actively by focusing on the content, not just the words. Do you remember when we talked about in the last episode about active listening versus passive listening?
Yes. um, pax- passive, passive listening, um, like you listen to passively. You just sitting there, like you just sitting there, listen, and you won't make any reaction to the listening, I think.
Right, right. That's a great example. So active listening, like if you're watching a sitcom or a series, you're just kind of watching it just in the moment. But actively listening versus passive listening would be where you're writing down keywords that you hear or phrases that you want to learn and engaging with the material, instead of just letting it go by. So good job. And so that's one example of an exercise that can help you to develop your comprehension is actively listening to materials.
Mhm.
Now this one is next. What does this say? Can you read this for us?
Transcription exercise. Listen to a short audio clip or recording and try to write down what you hear compared to your transcriptions with the actual text to identify errors and areas for improvement.
Good. Now, I just realized that errors and areas can be challenging. That's interesting to hear the difference between those words. But yeah, short audio clip recordings. So again, you can take a section of an audio book and play it. Of course, with you and I working together, Doris, you can ask me to read things and send you an audio clip to practice. This is actually what we're going to focus on today, but we will quickly go over the other slides so that those watching this video can have other ideas of what to do to practice hearing comprehension. And if you see any of these as you're watching them, Doris, that appeal to you, like, hey, can we practice this? Just let me know. We'll add that to our series here and we'll go over it together. But today, at the end, after the slides, you and I will practice transcribing. Yeah, exciting.
Sorry, and actually, I have a question.
Okay.
What's the word? What's the meaning of the word transcription?
Transcription literally. Transcription literally means, let's see, a written or printed presentation of something, of course, a written or printed representation of something. So the activity of transcribing is to listen and then record or write down something. You know, in the past, a boss would dictate something to his secretary. He would leave an audio recording for her to type out for him. So he would dictate a memo or dictate a speech, and she would have to listen to it and type what he was saying and then give him the printed copy. That was called a transcriptionist or transcribing something. Does it make sense? It will later. It will later. So basically later what I'm going to do, so to reduce your anxiety about the activity, Doris. Now, for those of you watching this, Doris and I do not plan for these videos together. I have a plan and an agenda based on her goal. And she just comes here and shows up. So it's very uncomfortable to not know what's going to be recorded and what's going to be expected of her. And my goal is not to make her feel uncomfortable. So sorry, Doris. But the goal is to allow this to be a very organic and natural interaction between she and I, so that not so much that she's surprised, but I want the viewer, Doris, to feel that they were getting together with me, that they didn't know, weren't aware what was going to happen, and that they could learn as I taught them what we were going to do. So what you and I are going to do at the end of these slides, I'm going to read a sentence to you, very, very basic sentence, and you're going to write it down just based on hearing me say it. It's going to be very easy. I've made it easy on purpose because, one, I want the viewers to be able to start at a lower level. Two, I want you to develop confidence in transcribing. So it's going to be incredibly easy. I won't set you up for failure, I promise. And then I'm going to show you the words afterwards of what I said, and you're going to compare it to what you wrote down or what you typed. And we're going to refine your accuracy in listening by doing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say like,
I,
yeah, the dog.
yeah, it's a good way. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a good way. It's like the dog barked, and in the future you'll write down the dog barked, and then we'll compare it. It's very, very simple. And then you'll be listening more with more focus, and you'll try to write down what you think you heard. If you got it wrong or you were not accurate, then you can make a correction, and then you'll listen again, and your brain will correct. You see, it's a very simple process, and you will be encouraged by it, and you can do it on your own after we're done. So that's what we'll be doing later. Cool, cool, cool. All right.
Yeah.
You got it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's going to be fine. I won't set you up that way. So the next thing we're going to do here is read this, please. Can you read this? This is another way to increase your listening comprehension.
Yes. Repeat and recap. Listen to a short segment of audio, such as a sentence or paragraph, and then to repeat what you heard. This helps improve your pronunciation and reinforce your understanding.
There you go. So another very simple, doable, free exercise that any of you can use to practice developing your hearing comprehension. Repeat and recap. So all of these things can be done for free, and that's why we're sharing them. Yeah, go ahead, Doris. What were you going to say?
Is a recap the meaning same as repeat?
Pretty much. Like recap would be to recall, like to summarize, something like that, right? So you want to repeat and maybe abbreviate or summarize. It is like when someone explains something to you and they want you to repeat it, but briefly, like just summarize what was just said in your own words. So that engages your brain. That helps you to process the things you did hear, and it helps you to think about more concise ways to say it. It's a process, yeah. And so let's go to the next one here. Read this, please.
Listen to different accents. Expose yourself to various accents and dialects of the language you are learning. This will improve your ability to understand different speakers.
Okay. And this is helpful at a certain point. In the beginning, I recommend you stay with the same person or the same couple of people, because your brain wants to see patterns of speech so that your brain can understand it. If you're listening to too many people in the beginning, it can be very confusing for you. So as you're learning new vocabulary, as you're growing, you should stay with the same person or a couple of people, and then later challenge yourself with new accents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay, let's keep going here. Can you read this?
Watch movie and TV shows. Choose movies and TV shows in the target language and watch with subtitles. Start with subtitles in your native language. Then switch to subtitles in the target language as you improve.
Aha. Aha. So one of the things I enjoy about when we get together on Zoom as a meeting with our language groups, Doris, is that the Zoom app allows people to choose their subtitle language. So beginners can come into the classes that we have on Zoom and put it in their native language so they feel comfortable and they can start to connect the things that are being said with words they are very familiar with in their native language. And then they would graduate to putting English subtitles. So now they are more immersed in English. They're hearing it, they're seeing it, they're making that connection. And ultimately, they should turn off the subtitles. So they're forced to only hear. Yeah. Which subtitles would you use if you had a chance right now?
I think bilingual, like Chinese and English.
You can't use
Together.
them both. Nora
Yes,
said she would have
I can.
both.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you had a choice, you would put both of them on the bottom of the screen so you could see both your native and English.
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I mean, maybe you can on certain TVs. I don't know. I don't watch TV in general, so maybe they do have a like a bilingual option. I don't know. It's very cool. Okay, let's keep going through these slides. This is just an overview of the slides, but we will focus on transcribing today. So we'll get into that in just a moment. What does this say?
Audiobooks and read-alongs. Listening to audiobooks while following along with the printed text. This helps you connect spoken and written language, improving comprehension.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is where you would purchase the audiobook textbook. And as it was read to you, you would follow along. So again, your brain is looking for patterns, connecting patterns, finding common things, and it's like downloading the new language. So immersion is the key, because if your brain has an option, it will choose the easiest pathway, which is your native language. So when you give it no other option, when you force it to only use English, it will, again, I'm using loose terms to give you a visual, but it's for the sake of explaining, your brain will learn what you expect from it, and it will realize that that this is very important. It has no other choice but to develop. So it will grow faster. Like if someone went to live in another country and they made themselves only speak that native language, they would pick up that language faster because they need to, right? To communicate at all.
Yes.
So when you're still in your native country, it is a little more challenging. If your family is not learning English with you, then you still have to communicate in your native language. And so all of these things slow the process somewhat. But if you listen to audiobooks and read the text, you can create more of an urgent connection with your growth. So, all right. Any questions, Doris?
No.
You can be thinking about questions. Remember, the benefit of us doing this unedited is we want to be as natural as possible. So this is not a performance. If you have a question, just ask me and we'll figure it out, okay?
Yeah.
Here you go. It's your chance. Dictation exercises.
Dictation exercises. Listen to the sentence or short passage and write down what you heard. Then compare your writing with the original test for accuracy.
Awesome. So listening yourself to something that was recorded. Transcribing is listening to someone else say it live. You know, you're writing down almost like shorthand. Dictation is where they actually put it down, you know, on a recording. So they're just different terms that mean similar things. We're going to be doing that later at the end of these slides, where I'll read a sentence and ask you to write it down. It's going to be very simple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you read this?
Yeah, language learning apps and online resource. Many language learning apps and websites offer exercises and activities designed to improve listening comprehension. Examples include Duolingo, Babbel, and Memrise.
Yeah, I think it's pretty funny that you know, language learning apps, you and I met on Hello Talk. Hello Talk is where we are every day for live streaming. And it's just like it sounds, guys. Hello and talk. I think
Like Duolingo, Babbel, and Memrise, these uh, these these are also tools of exchanging languages, right?
yes, these are also language learning apps. I haven't used any of them, but these are among the more popular language learning apps. I just think it's funny if you're learning a language that you shouldn't create a name that is misspelled. So memorize is being cute, so you'll remember it, but that is not the way you spell the word memorize. To me, it takes away from, you know, if you're teaching someone language, you want to be accurate. And so it's a poor choice to create a word that sounds like a real English word and misspell it for the sake of the name of your company. I just wouldn't go to them because of that. It's like, you know, that you're misspelling a word for your name of your company to be cute, but people are trying to come to you for accurate learning. So it's weird. But Babbel, I've heard of Babbel and Duolingo, but I've never tried them. And Hello Talk, 2 words, hello and talk, are the language app that we use with Doris. Very cool. These can be very helpful. And of course, they often offer features for free or limited engagement for free. And then they start to talk with you about subscribing to have more access or more frequent access. We try to do everything for free in our community, Tiliko Vima English. Here, please read this.
Language exchange partners. Find a language exchange partner who is a native or fluent speaker of the language you are learning. Regular conversations with them can greatly enhance your listening skills.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what we're talking about here is getting someone who is also trying to learn with you. I'm sorry, I was about to take a drink and I didn't want to show that, but now I'm talking to you. So I need to be on here. So anyway, I'm sitting here. I did, you know, very conscious of these things. So finding someone who is above you in their development and someone who is below you in their development can be very helpful in practicing often. Now, finding a native can be more difficult, but don't use that as an excuse. I would give yourself a study group or at least 1 or 2 people that you can get with regularly, one that is more advanced and one that is still learning, and just hear the English, speak the English, use it to describe things together. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for your progress to find a language partner at all that can get together with you regularly, even daily, for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes would help your growth exponentially. If you're waiting to pay for a native speaker, that's a waste of money and time because they don't have enough time and they shouldn't be charging you, frankly, just for small talk. But I get it. It's a business. But you can find a lot of people to help you for free.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, if you can get a native if you can get a native speaker to practice, but he he speak very fast, and maybe I can understand him clearly. What should I do?
That's not a good connection, right? So in learning, you find language partners that having one is better than not having one, obviously. Having one locally would be ideal, but when it's a male-female arrangement, I try to get them to meet with 3 people, just so there's no confusion, whether you're married or not married. It can be something, but learning languages in person is a lot better than online. But if you find someone who has a hard accent or that they speak too fast and you've asked them to speak slower, if you can't adjust whatever it is with them, then you have to find another partner. They're not effective. They can be more frustrating than helpful. And it's, try to have that conversation with them. And maybe you're just the one that helps them. But for your growth and development, you need to be able to understand them. And so that's part of the mandatory, connections with someone, is that there's a good match, right?
Yes, that makes sense.
You're fine. Please don't worry. It's fine. There we go. So let's continue here. I'm just learning how to transition faster. So what does this say, please?
Podcast and audiobooks. Listening to podcasts or audiobooks on topics they are interested you and the target language. This will make listening more engaging and help you stay motivated.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we talked about also, is that picking a content that interests you. So a topic, a genre. If you're reading books, make sure they're books that would interest you. This is different from didactic learning. Didactic learning means learning in a classroom setting with a formal structure. Becoming fluent or developing your fluency is related to exposure and how often you're going to do it. And you will do it more often if you are engaged in the topic or the genre of book. You'll do it more often. If you've ever had a book that you could not put down because it was so exciting, you just wanted to find time to read it, you were wondering what's going on or that's happening this chapter, it kept you engaged. But if it's a topic you don't enjoy, it'll be like taking medicine. Right? You know,
like
you have
suffering.
to. Yeah, but you're like, oh, that's nasty. Or when I drink apple cider vinegar, because they say drinking a small amount every day can help your system. And when I drink it, I go, and it's in. It's in there. Yeah.
So interest is the best teacher.
It is, because remember, you need endurance. Eventually, you're going to fatigue and be tired. That's why I'm giving you all of these options here, so that doing any of these will continue to develop your listening comprehension. You don't have to just do one until it becomes, oh, I got to do that again, right? You want to change it up. You want to change it up. Keep it interesting as you learn, like when we do what we're going to do today. And I'll make a shortcut for people who don't want to see the slideshow if there's people. But but as you do it, you want to do it in a way that keeps challenging you. So when we do it, we'll start very slowly with very simple context, but then we'll increase the difficulty of what I'm saying. And then even when you think you don't write it down correctly, you'll make the connection. You'll say, oh, I thought he said this, but he actually said that. Interesting. And so what your brain's going to do, Doris, it's going to listen to the context of the sentence I'm using. So if I say, the dog went to the bark, and I said the dog went to the park, and you wrote down bark because it sounds close. In your mind, you'll be thinking, the dog went to it's not going to go to the bark. It's going to go to the park, right? Now the dog barks, but the dog doesn't go bark, right? So your brain is going to make a context connection so that it's going to guess the next word more accurately as you hear it. I say the dog went to the park. Right away, you're going to think of dog and going somewhere, and park is going to be the only correct thing, right? Comprehension. So
like the front part, the medium part, and the these are connected.
Yeah, the context, right? Because the context determines the meaning of the word, right? For example, if I gave you the word ball, B-A-L-L, well, you could have a ball that you throw to your children and they throw it back, or you can throw for the dog to get it and he'll come back. Or if I said you were going to the ball, if you never heard of it before, a ball used to be the name of a formal dance where the women would wear long dresses and the men would wear a tuxedo. And there was usually the waltz where you would dance a very formal dance side to side. It's called a ball, or a very lavish, fancy event. So if I said I'm going to a ball, you're like, he's going to a ball? It must mean something else, right? It must mean something else. So I throw a ball, or you catch a ball, but you don't go to a ball. And you would say, Jonathan, what do you mean by that? Well, I would explain it. So now, when I say I'm going to a ball, I'm going to a formal dance. Even though it's spelled B-A-L-L, it means something different because of the context. So also now in terminology for slang, someone would say somebody is a baller, like a baller, B-A-L-L-E-R. And you're like, what is a baller? Well, it comes from the term for a basketball player, because they often, get their career started very quickly and they get a lot of money for a contract. So they call someone a baller, who is someone who has a lot of money at a young age and they spend it in a silly way, expensive cars, expensive jewelry, big fancy. So, oh man, he's a baller. He's got an expensive watch. So see, all of these things, how I say them makes a difference in what the word means, right? That's the context. So we can talk more about that later, but I just wanted to address that. So here we go. Read this one, please.
Progressive listening practice. Start with simple, slow pace audio material and gradually work your way up and more complex and faster paced content as you improve.
Absolutely. And this is what we're going to do today. Briefly, we're going to begin to practice this dictation transcription method where you hear something and try to write down what you've heard. And you can take material from anywhere. We'll do it together here, but you can be listening to an episode of a TV show and just pause it and try to write down what you just heard. and then pause it
Yeah.
and write it down and see if you accurately heard them. This creates a demand on your brain, which makes it more focused to listen carefully. Yeah. Got it?
Yes, yes.
Can you read this?
Yes. Take notes while listening. Jot down keywords, key points, and familiar words or phrases. Afterward, review your notes to reinforce what you've learned.
There you go. So it's about practice, correction, and then do over, right? So failure is your friend. It helps you to grow. It's okay. So while listening, jot down key points, unfamiliar words and phrases, like when someone's talking or when you're watching a TV show or something. Afterwards, review your notes and see if you were accurate or add things to it. This trains your brain. It trains your brain to be very focused. Okay.
So jot down is the meaning of write down or
Yeah, it implies writing things down quickly. Like you can't write the entire thing down. Like if I said to you, um, we're going to be meeting next week at 4 p.m. to discuss these key points of hearing comprehension. So I want you to be there and bring your notebook and make sure you bring your laptop and we'll get together at the Starbucks. Okay. So you might write down, meet with Jonathan, bring notebook at Starbucks next week at 4. You would just summarize that and take quick notes, jot it down real fast. You wouldn't write all the details. Yeah. So jot down means write down. Got it?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. You're doing great. Thank you for asking questions. It's good. How about this one? Try this.
Group listening activity. Join a language study group or conversation club where members listen to and discuss audio materials together. This provides opportunity for group discussion and feedback.
Yeah, and you'll see a common pattern here. Getting together in groups, common interests, common bond, enjoying interacting with people, not just leaving it to yourself. If you join a group, you will follow through more. We can become lazy at home or come up with excuses. Even with your family situation, you can say, no, Wednesday night is my group. Wednesday night is my group. Mommy has a meeting, especially if you have to go somewhere. Even if it's online, I know your family is very supportive of your learning process. And so you say, I know it's late, but I have to do this live stream with Jonathan. I have to do this Zoom meeting so that we can more content. But the other activities you would do separate from that. But joining a group where you all listen to something and discuss it helps you to process.
Yeah.
Online language platforms like Rosetta Stone, I guess Fluent U and Pimsleur, I guess those are other ones. Structured listening exercises and activities to improve comprehension. Hello Talk also has a number of listening activities, but you have to pay for it. And so I have tried them. They'll let you try it for 7 days and you can cancel. And I found them very useful. They really take a effective approach to learning whatever your language is, in this case, English. So I do recommend them when people are ready to pay. It's not a bad price. I think it's like 40 cents a day it comes down to, but it is a cost. And whenever you're a family or anyone today, you always want to manage your costs. And so we do many things for free with Toliko Vima English, actually everything. But some of these apps do it in a more detailed and structured way that could benefit you if you're at that point. So just saying, Rosetta Stone's been around a long time. Hello Talk did very good at upgrading their approach in the last year and a half. So you need to search around, but we're on Hello Talk every day. We enjoy that app. All right.
Yeah.
Here's the key. Look at this one, Doris. Practice regularly. Can you read this?
Yes. Practice regularly. Consistency is key to improving listening comprehension. Dedicate a set amount of time each day or week to listening practice.
Absolutely. And consistency. Consistency is the key. And so if you think about it, you're working against your native language. You're working against your native language. So your brain has been trained your whole life in your native language. It's very comfortable. It's very well developed. And so when you introduce another way of thinking or speaking or writing, you're going against that. So if you were swimming against the current, like if you were in the ocean and the ocean's going a certain way and you were swimming against that current, if you let up for just a little bit, you would lose traction, right? You would lose your progress. So when you're swimming against the ocean and you're making progress, if you slow down or stop, you're going to lose progress. So the same with learning English or your new English goal of comprehension. It's new. So you have to reinforce it and do it every day consistently in order to keep the progress you have. And then eventually that progress becomes fixed and you won't lose it as quickly. You'll keep it. But you have to have dedicated time. If you're exercising and you change up your exercise routine, you have to stick with it for a period of time to see if it's useful and effective. So the same thing. Good.
Yes.
Read this.
Everything takes time.
Everything takes time. Can you read this last slide for us?
Remember that improved listening comprehension takes time and persistence. Be patient with yourself and gradually challenge yourself with more difficult materials as you progress. Over time, you will notice significant improvements in your ability to understand spoken language.
Absolutely. And that's what we talked about. Be persistent, defend your time learning, and increase the difficulty slowly but surely. Now, in overall language learning in fluency, I compare fluency to being an athlete. An athlete is not somebody who's just fit. An athlete has diet, sleep, recovery, challenges. They do it in all different, they have it all calculated. They're at a high level of performance. They can do anything. And so with fluency, you need to work on the areas that you need to develop more until they're here, and then work on the next area, and then come back and practice this a little more later to get all of your areas where you want them. And so Doris has asked us during this series to work on her listening comprehension, and we're going to try something now. Doris, do you have paper and pen or something you can write down? So this is an exercise. So we're going to go slowly and be very easy in the beginning. In this exercise, can you read this sentence on the screen, please?
Short stories. Listen to a short paragraph, sentence by sentence, and then write it down.
Absolutely. So you can do this with anyone. You can have a short paragraph which includes several sentences. You can ask them to read it to you, and then you write it down. And they read the next sentence. You write it down. And then you compare what you wrote down to what the actual text is when you're done. If there was a word like we talked about with the dog, park and bark, you make the correction. And then you listen to it read again and you go, oh, of course I can hear the b instead of the p, right? So it's just about calibrating. You should start very easy stuff at first and then gradually build it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yes.
It's going to be very easy. Here we go.
Yeah.
Once upon a time. Once upon a time. Got it?
Yes. Once upon a time.
Once upon a time, there was a curious little girl. There was a curious little girl.
There was a curious little girl.
Just write it down however you know how to spell it. We'll fix it later. It's okay. There was a curious little girl. This is the same sentence. So once upon a time, there was a curious little girl
Yeah.
named Lily. Named Lily.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, there was a curious little girl named Lily. I repeated it several times because we're not trying to give you to memorize it. You don't have to memorize it. It's not checking that. I want you to hear it and write it down, and then we'll correct it. So let's see. Let's see how you wrote it. I'm going to bring it here.
Yeah.
Now make your corrections on what you wrote. Even punctuation, you can make your corrections. Once upon a time, comma, there was a curious little girl named Lily. Can you compare it to what you wrote? Did you spell everything correctly?
Yes.
You did? Excellent. Really?
Yes.
I'm so excited. Okay.
Yes.
What do you do for your job? Are you a teacher?
No, I'm a salesperson.
Yeah, shoes.
I work for a trading company. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying
our product. Yeah.
okay. I was just saying that for our viewers because you know, as they watch, they get to know us. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Don't look. What are you looking for? Okay, go ahead. So I'll give you another sentence now.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Lily loved to explore the forest near her house. Lily loved to explore the forest near her house. Lily loved to explore the forest near her house. Okay, you got it?
I a word. I guess that a word.
Here's the actual sentence. Lily loved to explore the forest near her house. Which was the word? Which word?
Forest.
Don't sorry. No, this is I really want you to have a challenge because if you just say you get it perfect every time, we're not helping you. So please tell us where you had a challenge.
Yeah.
Where was your challenge? Which word gave you a problem?
Forest.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
Don't no more apologies. They're not allowed because you're apologizing for helping us. We want to see this challenge. That way we can help you. So forest. Now, was that a word you had never seen before? Or was that a word you just didn't know how to spell?
No, Actually, I know this word, but I don't know. I just forget it suddenly.
So you didn't know how to spell it, or it sounded strange to you?
Mm,
So
I think because I didn't uh, understand like the context. I think.
okay, no, this is good. So I'm really happy. This is what's supposed to happen. So please don't apologize for getting us where we want to be. So this is fine. This is fine. Lily loved to explore the forest near her house. So those of you watching this video, you want to meet the point of challenge. You don't want it to be easy for you because there's no growth in easy. Now, whether you had never heard of the word before or whether you didn't know how to spell it, it's a chance to level up. So as you write it and then you see how it's written, you correct your spelling, or as you hear it and you're like, what did he say? For rest? She was sleeping. She went for rest. Hey. Oh, forest. He was saying forest. Now you can understand she loves to explore. She's going to the forest near her house. That makes sense. So this is development for you, Doris. This is not a problem. This is a solution. It's great. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready for
Yeah.
the next sentence?
And also,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I and also sometimes maybe some words I don't often use it, and sometimes I will forget how to write it.
No, that's great. And that's why we're doing it. That's why we're doing it this way, because you're listening, you're trying to process it. And if your brain doesn't remember the word, it's going to bring it to the front. And this is, we could not be in a better place right now, Lily. This is Doris. I called you Lily. We couldn't be in a better place right now because we're discovering areas for improvement. There's no problem. This is perfect. Perfect.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Next sentence. You ready?
Yeah.
One day, she found a hidden treasure chest under a big oak tree. One day, she found a hidden treasure chest under a big oak tree. One day, she found a hidden treasure chest under a big oak tree. You got it? Here.
Yes, but I think maybe I leak some word.
This is great. This is great. So look, I put it on the screen now. And just make your corrections, like circle your words that you want to spell differently, or circle your words that you put down wrong, and then you can make the correction. So those of you watching the video, you can join us as we do this. That's why we do it in real time. We're not going to abbreviate this. Doris is being very kind to experience this process. We've never done this together, she and I. This is completely brand new. And so I want everyone to see what it feels like when you're doing it, and that you're looking for the opportunities. So as you write it, if your brain said something else and you wrote down that something that wasn't even a word, it's okay. Circle it, and then you'll see the material. You'll write in the correct word, and now you're making the association. So the next time we read this, like when I get together with Doris, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over this, and I'm going to read these lines and she's going to write it down perfectly because she has studied it, which means that she has acquired it. It's in her brain. Right now, she's finding opportunity. But the next time we get together, this quick review will show her that she has locked it in, that this exercise has locked in all of these words, and her ears can now associate with someone saying any of these phrases. So it's a huge growth in just one paragraph. So I'm trying to show you guys. So I'm very thankful that Doris is doing this without any practice. This is excellent, excellent. So let's do the next sentence.
Okay.
Inside the chest, there were shiny jewels and an old map. Inside the chest, there were shiny jewels and an old map. Inside the chest, there were shiny jewels and an old map. You got it? Inside,
Jewels.
it's okay. Write down whatever, just write down
Yeah.
whatever, because you'll come back to it. Yeah. Inside the
Yeah,
chest, there were shiny jewels and an old map. Let me show it to you. And just circle the words. Remember, I'm going to send you a copy of this so you'll be able to see it before I upload it, Doris. And you can go over these exercises yourself or with your children or whatever. Very, very simple. And guys, it's easy to create a PowerPoint where you can put all these things together and have it just show you line by line. Or you can record yourself reading something, one phrase at a time, like I've done, and then practice writing what you've heard yourself say, or you can ask your children to read it, or there's so many ways you guys can level up your hearing comprehension. And then the final sentence we're going to read right now. You ready?
Okay.
The
Yeah.
final sentence of this paragraph. Lily decided to follow the map and go on an adventure. Lily decided to follow the map and go on an adventure. Lily decided to follow the map and go on an adventure. All right, good deal.
Yeah, I got it.
See how good you feel. Lily decided to follow the map and go on an adventure.
Yeah.
Aha. So you're going to have moments where you feel excited that you did remember, that you spelled it right, that you put the comma, the punctuation. And there's times where just write down what you think the word is. Just put it down. And then you save the space, and then you'll circle that word and you'll remember how to spell it, or you'll see a comma and you'll remember where to put it. So let's read the whole thing real quick. Once upon a time, there was a curious girl named Lily. Lily loved to explore the forest near her house. One day, she found a hidden treasure chest under a big oak tree. Inside the chest, there were shiny jewels and an old map. Lily decided to follow the map and go on an adventure. Yeah. And so we will review this same one the next time we get together. And of course, you'll write it down more accurately. You'll spell the words that you didn't know today. You'll put in the commas in the right place, and you'll feel so excited. Like, this is very exciting. And then we'll move on maybe to something a little harder, or we'll reinforce. And you will see how well, those of you watching as well as Miss Doris, you will see that this is a very effective exercise at giving your brain focus and causing it to recall words and to put those words into sentences that make sense because of what you've heard, thus increasing your reading or your hearing comprehension. Exciting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Thank you for tolerating all of this, Doris. This was almost an hour, I think. I lost track of time. We're doing it with the slideshow front loaded so that you can all see there are many ways to increase your listening comprehension. You can try them all. You can just try a few that work for a while and then change and do a few more. But Lily's, I had a student named Lily before. That's why it keeps locking in. Doris's goal that she asks for help with is listening comprehension, that when she hears people talking, she'll understand what they're saying. And what we're doing is training her brain through this exercise so that she can, in fact, develop a more accurate and a faster way of hearing and understanding what is being said. So, do you have any questions for us today, Doris?
Hmm. Hmm. I think um, um, I think I'm like I will make a progress from like a simple step to like more com com complicated and all more difficult like make progress step by step.
You will, and we're targeting specific goals because and we're giving you a timeline. Remember the acronym SMART, SMART, and that is something that should be these are for your goals, guys. If you're doing the SMART acronym for your goals, they should be significant, you know, as far as, let me see here. I want to look it up while we're here live. I don't want to misquote something. There we go. So it should be so funny.
Yes, I think sometimes we do know like this word, but when we hear this word, we didn't react very quickly when we hear this word.
Yeah, well, when you're making goals like what you're doing, you want to have listening comprehension was what we got you to decide on for this first series with you. Of course, after we're convinced and you are aware that you can practice these things on your own time to continue to develop this one particular area, you want it to be specific. So your goal is specific. You want listening comprehension. That is very specific. You want it measurable, meaning that you should be able to measure your progress and see your development. You want it to be attainable, meaning that as we work together, we start slowly and simply, and you accomplish it. You feel like you have attained that goal, like, yes. And we also want it to be relevant to your ultimate goal of fluency. And then we want to be timely or time bound, sometimes it says. And that means we need to give it a time limit. So between now and the next video, however long that is for those of you watching, for Doris and I, it may just be a couple of days. We want to see this improvement, and we want to see her confidence grow. Remember, everybody, you have fear, but you have to use your courage. And when you use your courage, you decrease your fear, and then you have an experience. And when you have an experience, whether good or bad, you gain confidence. And your confidence prevents your fear from growing. So as Doris practices this very simple method, will increase the difficulty of the sentences, and she'll see where the challenge is, how to circle the words that she didn't know or how to spell. And she'll see that she's learning to associate words in her mind with words she is hearing. She is able to write things with the proper grammar and punctuation as she copies things and writes things. And she will level up. She's associating. If she needs to learn more vocabulary, she will learn more vocabulary. And so her brain, all of that studying and reading and writing in China and in her life is going to come to the surface. So now what she hears being said, she's going, if she never heard the word before, she's going to have a good idea of how to write it down. So listening comprehension is a powerful tool if you're actively listening, writing it down, correcting yourself, and practicing. It will grow your English exponentially. So I'm encouraged that Doris chose this particular focus. And I know she's going to see how it's going to help in many ways with her English. After we're convinced that she understands this process, we've seen her growth and development, then we'll conclude these sessions with her in this particular goal. Of course, we'll meet with her again and say, what's your next goal? And then we'll find a way to grow that. This is the Fly on the Wall series. So we want all of you to feel like you're in the room with us as we practice this. It's done real time. So we're not going to edit this and make it shorter. Those of you who really want to level up, who want to talk with a native English speaker, who want personal instruction, you can watch these videos for free. You can watch them over and over again. And of course, share them, not just for the sake of the channel, but if this is helpful to you and you have friends that are learning English, especially if they come from Mandarin, but in this case, these exercises are effective for everyone, please share them. Say, hey, I know you're paying a lot of money to learn, but try this method. This is free and we can learn together. We can start a group, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Doris, I've had a great time with you once again. I think it's very productive. I want to thank you for sacrificing time with your family to be with us. And I'll process this video right away and send you the raw copy. And then we'll probably upload it this weekend to add it to our series with you. Any final words?
I agree with you. We need to recommend this good good activity to the persons who want to learn English.
Absolutely. Well,
and,
thank you.
Yeah, and maybe their label is similar as me, similar with me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Doris, again. We have to close the lesson at this time, but we'll see you next time. And those of you joining us, thank you for joining us and sharing and all that stuff. This is Taliko Vima English, bringing you through the final steps of fluency, one lesson at a time.
This has been Taliko Vima English, making the world your classroom.
Please remember to subscribe and like and share with your friends.